Yeah, today we're going to continue talking about triangles and how their sides interact with each other. And in this case, we're going to talk about how we can build a triangle and if it's possible to build a triangle with certain side lengths. And that's what we call the triangle inequality theorem. So what this triangle inequality theorem says is that in order to be able to make a triangle, you need to be able to take the length of any of the two sides. So you pick two of the three sides and you add the two sides together, and those two sides must be bigger than the third side. So if they're not bigger, if they're equal to the third side when you add those other two together, or they are less than the third side, what's going to happen is when you try to put the triangle together, you're not going to be able to connect all the sides and close and make a proper triangle. And I can show you an example of that in class for sure, but right now we are going to practice the process of deciding if these three lengths can make a triangle. So if I look at this first problem, I want to make a triangle with one side that's length 20, one side that's length 12, and one that's length 7. And so if I picked any two of these side lengths and added them together, we need that to be larger than the remaining side, the third side. Well, of course, 20 is already bigger than these two sides, so it doesn't matter what I add to it, it's going to be bigger than the third side. 12 is bigger than 7, so if I add something to that, it's going to be bigger than 7. So basically what we do here as maybe a shortcut, we all like the quickest way, is we're going to pick the smaller two sides. And if we can add the smaller two sides, and when we add those, if those two small sides added together are bigger than this third side, then we can build a triangle out of these three sides. So I'm going to take, so we're first going to add the two small sides, 12 plus 7, and that gives us 19. And then we're going to ask ourselves, is it bigger than the third side? I know my language is a little rough here, a little shorthand. So we add the two small sides, that's the first step. 12 plus 7 is 19, and then we ask ourselves, is it bigger than the third? Is 19 bigger than 20? And if the answer is yes, then you can say, yeah, we can build a triangle using these three sides. If the answer is no, then we wouldn't be able to make a triangle. So we would say, no, we can't make a triangle. And so I think everybody probably by now is saying, come on, Mr. Pickard, get to the point. 19, we know 19 is not bigger than 20. So my answer is no here. We cannot make a triangle. So I'm going to say no, no, no triangle. And that's it. That's sort of the quick way to decide, can these three sides make a triangle? So I would just go grab the two smaller sides in any of these, and I will add them together. That's the first step. And then so my second step would be to say, hey, is that 18 bigger? That's the greater than sign. Then 12, my remaining side. And so in this case, 18 is bigger than 12, so yes, we have a triangle. So we can make a triangle with sides that are 8 inches, 10 inches, and 12 inches long. Let me do one more. Again, go grab the two smaller sides, and add them. Doesn't matter what order you add, you'll get the same thing. And then we're going to ask ourselves, hey, is that result we got, that sum when we added them, is that greater than the third side? Here they're both 19, Is 19 bigger than 19? No, it's not. It's equal to it, but it's not bigger than it. So my answer to the question is no. 19 is not bigger than 19. So no, we have no triangle here. We cannot make a triangle. So I want you to try this one. We'll call this you try number one. Decide if this thing can be a triangle. So your answer is just yes or no. Can we make a triangle out of these three sides? And then once you come back and press play, I'll have the answer. So the answer is yes, I can build a triangle with sides 6, 7, and 8. If you didn't get yes and you don't understand why, now is the time to ask for help. Please do ask for help so that when we move on to do practice, you have sorted out um, a misunderstanding that you might have had. One thing we can do besides decide if we can build a triangle with specified side lengths is, what if I want to build a triangle and all I care about is two sides being specific lengths, and then I don't really care what the third side is, but I want to find what are my possibilities for building this triangle with for a third side, because there are going to be side lengths we can't use because it won't follow the triangle inequality theorem, and the two smaller sides won't be bigger than the third side. So we can find a range of possibilities. A range just means that we have to be bigger than some value or smaller than some value, and then anything in between them will work. And so the short way to talk about this is to say, to get our range, so I want to build a triangle that has both sides 12, and then I don't care what the third side is, but I want to know what possible values will work. So the short way to do this would be we are going to subtract the two sides, and then we are going to add them, and our third side should be somewhere in between. It should be bigger than the number we get when we subtract, and smaller than the number we get when we add. For those of you who get a little confused with the greater than or less than, these are less than symbols, and that means that this number we get when we subtract is less than our third side, and our third side must be less than what we get when we add. So here we are going to subtract 12 minus 12, and we're going to add 12 plus 12, and that means that our third side should be less than 24, and 0 is less than whatever our third side is. So this means that whatever side we choose, it needs to be between 0 and 24. It cannot be 0, it cannot be 24. It has to be somewhere between. So we can build this triangle with sides 12, 12, and 12. We could build it with a third side that's 23 because that's less than 24. We could build it with a side that's 1 because it's bigger than 0. So our third side needs to be between 0 and 24. When we write it like this is a range. It shows a range, a bunch of values that satisfy what we're looking for. So again, in order to find this range, and it's a good idea to write this every time, we are going to subtract. As long as you know what it means, of course. You need to know what sub means. And you need to know when you write add what it is you're adding. We're going to subtract these two numbers, and I always do the biggest minus the smallest so we get a positive number. And then we're going to add them. And then we're going to know that our third side must be bigger than 1 and smaller than 21. Same idea here. Again, if you write this or something like this that helps you remember how we find this range every single time, then you'll be reinforcing that idea. We're going to do 12 minus 7 I'm always doing the biggest minus the smallest so that I get a positive answer. Of course, we want our side to not be a negative length because that doesn't exist. Doesn't matter which way you add, but I'll do big plus small so we keep that consistent. So our third side, if we want to build a triangle that has sides 7 and 12, sorry, 7 and 12, our third side has to be bigger than 5. Maybe I'll write that. Has to be bigger than 5 and smaller than 19. So any value that is bigger than 5 and also smaller than 19 is a possibility for the length of a side if we want to build a triangle that has sides 7 and 12. So we'll call this one you try number 2. Find the range of values here. When you are writing your answer into the answer box, you might have these symbols on your keyboard, or you can write something like this in that format, whichever format you feel is good for you that shows me what you're trying to say. So try this one and then check your answer. So you should have found that our third side should be bigger than 3, smaller than 19. If you did not get those numbers or you did not get both of those numbers, if you are a little confused, that's totally fine. Please do, though, ask for help right now before you go on to the practice problems. Ask for help right now if you need it so we can fix any misunderstandings. Here are some problems for you to try. Make sure you put them into the answer boxes. If you get stuck while you're working, ask for help. We're glad to help. Take your time on these, and good luck.